you Ratliff, right? No, they want to call you Ratliff, right?
Oh yeah, always. They still do.
Because it's so close together. And I had to practice to make sure I didn't do that because in my mind I was saying Ratliff, but it's a Ratliff. So
Yes, sir. They still do it. They still put the C in there. And for some odd reason, I don't know what it is. I actually have a couple of uncles and an aunt that for some odd reason when they back in the day when they was doing birth certificates, they left the C up there. And so I have like uncle and two aunts that last name is Ratcliffe, and then my father and the rest of his siblings are Ratliff. So I literally have first cousins that are Ratcliffe, and we're Ratliff.
And the real McCoy is
Ratliff, no C.
Right.
Okay. Well, look, we're glad to have you here this morning and I'll tell you a little bit about Coach Ratliff and Ratliff. See, I just did it.
It's fine.
Attended IC Norcom High School and Bethune-Cookman University, and he's a teacher coach. Well, we'll talk about his role in a little bit, but a teacher coach in the Portsmouth school system. And he played football at IC Norcom. And ironically, we had one of his teammates on last week, Mike Wilkins.
Actually, I was an elite basketball player for Norcom. I ended up giving up football to focus on basketball. Me and Mike played basketball together at Norcom.
Yeah, he said that, and so was I. You weren't there, so you don't really know. So, but anyway, we're glad to have you here this morning, Coach, and we wanted to have you here. And I also like to mention you were formerly the head football coach at Woodrow Wilson High School, and we're glad when you came to Norcom, along with you came two sons that are tearing it up on the field and in the classroom, which is very important. So that's why we call them student athletes. So we wanted to have you here this morning so we could continue our talks about the importance of, and I also add that you're an elementary school teacher. And before we get started, last Monday, I was honored to speak at the funeral of one of my sixth grade teacher, who was 90 years old. And he was my sixth grade elementary school teacher and the first male teacher I had in elementary school. And I talked about how important it was at that point in my life to have a male teacher, especially in the sixth grade when we were starting as young men, starting to feel our oats. And it was very few males in the elementary school system at that time. And it's probably different now, but I guess you would can say it's just as important to have that male presence in our elementary school systems even today. Wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, definitely. Representation matters. As you know, being a male and having that strong positive image in the school is definitely is great. Any administrator will tell you that. Especially here in Portsmouth because of our demographics. A lot of our kids go home to various different situations in their neighborhoods and various different outlooks and role models. So when they see a strong men as well as strong Black men in the building, carrying themselves a certain way, being respectful, and just being another outlet for the community to reach our young people, it definitely has a very strong impact. Being a support system for our women, because our women have been working so hard in education for so many years and making impacts. They made impacts on me, they made impacts on you all. For us to come in as male teachers, we definitely play a very strong and important role, and I value it. Every day. Like I said, I used to teach. I taught when I was coaching at Wilson. I was a high school teacher, special education teacher for about 8 years. But the transition to a PE teacher at elementary school, I feel like I'm able to make a lasting impact before they start getting to that age where they pretty much gonna go down the route they're gonna go. We get to make that impact, so maybe they'll make better decisions.
Yeah, and a shout out to Brighton Elementary, which is the school that you are teaching at now. And you mentioned about your high school experience at Wilson and your involvement at Norcom as well. So you're seeing a broad spectrum of ages of children, of students. on the elementary school level and then that high school level, which both levels are very important. What's your role at IC Norcom at this point?
Right now in Norcom, like I said, I'm a parent. I have two sons, a senior, Jerron Ratliff, and a sophomore, Jaden Ratliff. They're elite athletes, being recruited by Division I schools for football. They're also elite basketball players, and like you said, star students, with both over a 3.0 GPA. As far as the football program, I'm still on the coaching staff, but I'm moving away from actual coaching on the sideline, and I'm the director of football operations. So I'm working directly with the athletic director, Coach Robert Jackson, and the head coach, Coach Corey Davis, and handling logistical things, fundraising, making sure COVID protocols are being met. So, just working in that capacity, from an administrative side, to make sure our football program is getting back on track after going through a pandemic. It's kind of still going through it, but navigating through it.
Right. And we're getting into some of the other things that we want to talk about today, but I want to touch on this. You, as a father of two young Black male boys in the school system, and with all the rising crime rates we have and the influences that some of the students have with gangs, just people just want to lead them in the wrong direction. You know, you know, how do you navigate all of that with your sons? I know you had to talk. You have to have that talk about how to the protocol for if you're stopped by police, and then on top of that, you have to also have that conversation about not being influenced by outside activities of the schools and be focused on what they're doing.
Oh yeah, and basically, like I say, it's two-pronged for me. In the midst of everything I'm doing in education and coaching, I've been a community leader for so many years, as well as I actually used to be the youth minister at New Testament Church with Bishop Jerome Williams, and I did that for several years. And as my sons were growing up, they saw me working diligently trying to save young men and getting these young men out the streets, going into Lincoln Park and grabbing some of my football players out of dice games. And they saw a lot of the things that was going on, me having to go to funerals and speak at funerals and speak to mothers who 16 and 17-year-old sons have been taken from this earth. And they watched me go through that. And internally, I had to realize as my son started to get older that, yes, I can do everything I can for the community, but I got to make sure I am involved with my boys. So the first thing I decided to do was make sure that I have complete and total involvement in everything that they're doing. One of the issues that's happening with our young people is we on a too late basis. We react too late. We don't know what's on their Instagram pages. And then once they get involved in a crime, once they are a victim of a crime, we go to their social media and we see they have guns in the picture and they have cash in the picture and they have drugs in the picture. But that's because we wasn't totally involved. We kind of working and going through our way of life and the struggles we're going through, and we're kind of letting our teenagers kind of navigate through themselves. So me and my wife discussed it, and we said, we're going to be heavily involved in everything that's going on, from social media, from sports to their girlfriends to everything. So that was my internal way of making sure that my sons are okay, is that I'm gonna know where you are, I'm gonna know where you're going. I don't lock them up. I let them go and hang with their friends and go to parties. But I joke with some of their friends and I tell them, I say, yeah, I'll let my sons go to a party and I'm coming to pick them up at a certain time. But what they don't know is I'm sitting in the parking lot watching Netflix on my cell phone while the party's going on. And then when they text me and say they ready, I go get them, because if something does happen, I'm right there to go get them. And so that total involvement, I think, made an impact from the inside in and developing my sons. Now, from the outside in, knowing that they're going to have influence from the games, they're going to have influence from a lot of the music that they listen to, they're going to have some different influence and exposure to things, was having those talks, and explaining them and being real with them, consequences of what can happen, if you participate in this particular activity, if you do these things, if you try marijuana, and try to get hooked on it, or if you associate with this group of people. So having that communication with them and letting them see it for themselves, I think, has worked. Football and basketball sports, I think, have worked. And as far as the policing issue, like I said, we all have had that talk we all have had to discuss with them how to be around police and that type of thing. And but they know, it still can go a bad way. So, just try to instill those things in them, and hopefully they're safe.
Yeah, it's a certain responsibility that the parents have. Colonel?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a bit of housekeeping first before I ask our distinguished guests a question here. And yeah, for those who are out there in electron world, we're always seeking donations or sponsorships, and you can send it to Portsmouth Coffee Talk, P.O. Box 7664, Portsmouth, Virginia 23707. And if you'd like to see us continue to have these great shows and have these great guests, we need your help, because without your help, we cannot continue. And then so getting back to my first question would be, one of the things that got me when you were doing your introduction, Coach, when you talked about your sons, and one of the small things that hit me to my heart when you talked about their academic achievements, that they're above 3.0. And I think that's the piece that we don't a lot of times we undershoot that with our kids, because and you could tell me too, I think it was more chance of your sons growing up to be a doctor, lawyer, school teacher, or some professional than it is that 0.0005% chance of being a professional ball player. And so can you talk to address the academic part for what you talk about your sons?
Oh yeah, definitely. Academics always have been important and pretty much number one with us. Like I shared with my boys when it comes to athletics, me and their mother have spent, man, I think thousands and thousands of traveling up and down the East Coast and the Midwest for AAU basketball, for football, for so many different things related to sports. And one thing I've always told them was, it's an investment in you guys, but it's not an investment for you to go to the NFL. It's not an investment for you to go to the NBA. If that happens, that's icing on the cake. I said, this investment that we're putting in is so that you can put yourself in a position to have an opportunity to get a full scholarship. Once you go to college, the sky's the limit. Doors are open in so many different ways, education wise, that if you don't end up going professional sports route, you'll be able to do something possibly that you love, and you'll be educated, even if it prepares you for a different career, or makes you eligible for a different career. So that's always been our focus, as well as on the flip side, for me, I knew there was a way to help avoid them from being caught up in crime, caught up in gangs, caught up in a lot of foolishness. Because when you start to separate yourself academically, things happen. Things happen when you're in middle school and all of a sudden they're putting you in honors classes. So now you're not able to hang with the homies. Now you're in a classroom with people who really care about their schoolwork, and you start to take on those type of traits.
Yes.
And things of that nature. So you start to separate yourself as you develop through middle school and then get to high school. And then, you pretty much have that foundation and you understand what it takes to be successful academically.
Yeah, good. And the other piece too is, as you talk to your two young sons, are you starting to discuss with them academic majors when they go to college, one, and then you coming from an HBCU school discussing on where to go and highlighting the advantages of HBCU universities, because of them, I being a graduate of the great state, the great school across the water of Norfolk State, talking about that versus all the D1 schools that just want you to go out there and play ball till you get injured.
I mean, I have that HBCU background. I love the fact that I came from Bethune-Cookman, down in Daytona Beach, Florida. And, like I said, I expose both of my boys to everything. Like my youngest son, he is a high recruit in the class of 2024. He already has 3 Division I scholarships. He has heavy interest from Virginia Tech, West Virginia, We get calls constantly from a lot of D1 schools, but I still took him this summer to the HBCU mega camp. Even when you know, some might say, well, you know, you really don't have to do that because, you know, he's being recruited by high level schools. But I want him to be able to get that exposure and possibly get the opportunity. And we were blessed to have a coach from Jackson State with on Deion Sanders' staff to reach out to us about him. So that was awesome, and he was excited about that. My oldest son actually has a full scholarship offer from Central State in Ohio. Coach Bobby Rome, who has ties to Granby High School and University of North Carolina. He's the head coach there. And my son was just as excited. You know, he went to a visit at ODU and he went to a visit at Norfolk State. He was just as excited, you know, because you know, they understand that, you know, it's not just about on the field, but it's also in the classroom. It's also classroom size. It's also, you know, fraternities and sororities and social things. So it's a lot that goes into it. I would just be happy and blessed if they get an opportunity to go to the next level and, you know, whichever school that they choose. But HBCU will I know will give them the foundation that they need to be able to matriculate in society.
Perfect. I like that. And do you also, say at Norcom and in the high schools and you know, K through 12s, you also talk about the athletes also that tell them, you know, you can't bounce that ball or run that football without the academics?
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, when I was the head coach at Wilson, one of the things that I feel is my legacy is, I mean, I took over a program that was 0-50. They had not won a game in 4.5 seasons. And we ended up winning some games. We won 9 games in 4 years. And some might say, well, that's not a whole lot of success. But my legacy wasn't based on that. My legacy was on, I'm coming into Portsmouth, where I have to get my kids out of Portsmouth. So my last year at Wilson, one of the number one things I'm proud of is 11 seniors signing to go to college to play football or having an opportunity to have football open up a door for them education wise. That was my legacy every year. So yeah, I might have had some teams on that schedule beating me, but I was putting more kids in college than they were. And that was always the focus. So we made sure we had mandatory study hall and tutoring. We made sure that we were doing things for them for the NCAA clearinghouse and having computer literacy stuff just for the football team. So we did all of that, you know, to put that in place. So that would be the focus. And now that I'm at Norcom and working with Coach Jack and working with Coach Davis, the same thing is in effect. And you all are going to see, and I know Mr. Overton going to be excited, you're going to see the fruits of that labor spring 2022, dealing with COVID and everything. You're going to see so many young men move on to the next level coming from Portsmouth and going to get higher education.
Well, you know what? As I analyze what you just said, and you're talking about 4 games, even if you went 11-0, but the team that when you said you send 11 kids to college, that legacy or that achievement 20 years down the road when they're all successful is what we'll read about versus what that's whatever the record was back then.
Oh yeah, definitely long-lasting effects.
Yes, and that's what we need to hold in high regard, and that's what I hold in. So I like you, thank you for that. And other coaches need to hear that and think about that. It's not about winning and losing. It's what you do to send these kids across the stage, for one, getting their high school diploma, but then going to and finding a trade or going to college after the fact, so we can open up these doors for the what I call the underserved.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you always want to do both. You want to win, and you want them to make it to the next level, and you want to save lives and impact lives.
Yes.
You know, but you know, because winning keep your job. but like you say, when you can get those phone calls, when you can get those Facebook messages, you know, when you get online and you see those graduations and you get those invites to those graduations from college, you know, it's a blessing, and you know you made a difference.
Right. So, and another question, the last question I have, well, the next question I have is, because, you know, we're living in the land of COVID, for testing for the athletes, actually vaccination rates, are you requiring or encouraging your kids to get vaccinated?
We're not requiring anything. We're doing everything under the scope of Portsmouth Public Schools and through the athletic department. Our central athletic director, Vincent Pugh, making sure we carry out COVID protocols when they come into practice, making sure that they are masked. They must wear masks when they come onto the property. As far as the vaccinations, like I said, we're a public school. There has been no mandate on them getting vaccinated, but we talk about the positives of getting vaccinated. And I know just from being a parent as well as a coach, several young men who on the team who have been vaccinated. So that definitely puts us in a very good situation. But like I say, there is no governing body over it right now. So there's still issues going on in the Eastern District, where teams may be quarantined for 14 days if they have a coach or their player that catches COVID. So, we're making sure we keep all our protocols. They still social distance when they can at practice. We don't do the normal things don't happen anymore. No sharing of the water. You have to bring your own water bottle and use that water bottle pretty much the whole time that you're at the school. Those type of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is no normacy anymore.
No normacy. It's so important. That's why we want you on here, and we want to let people know what the schools are doing as far as, because so often the breaking news is the highlight of what the people hear about as far as the crime. And it kind of overshadows all the good things that our students are doing in our schools and the teachers that are doing. Go ahead. Well,
I want to say you just brought up a topic that I've been talking about for several weeks in our city with everything going on, from leadership turmoil that you all see going on, all trickling all the way down. And one of the things that I talk about is, the total and complete focus on the negative. I was the PBIS director at Brighton Elementary. That's positive behavior instructional support. And basically what that is that that's a system put in place where we reward positive behavior. So if you're doing what you're supposed to do in the classroom, if you're completing your assignments, if your behavior is good, you get this amount of points towards this opportunity or that opportunity. And it works with our kids. I mean, the kids who are always getting in trouble, previously, they were the focal point. Why? Because they always get in trouble. So I got to pull them out the classroom. We got to always talk to them. They were getting the attention. But now, because of PBIS, the focus is on the students that are doing good. So now that one or two student is like, well, how do I get the attention? Oh, doing what I'm supposed to do. Well, I started to think, why don't we operate like that in our city? We literally had in the spring, let's just say we may have had a certain amount of kids get in trouble, or even to the seriousness of gun violence. We may have had 5 or 6 situations where teenagers may have been involved, which is bad. We don't want that to happen. But that's 6 or 7 teenagers in our whole city that pulled out a gun. They shouldn't do that. And for 6 months, all we talk about is teenagers pulling out guns. But we had about 800, 700 students to graduate from high school in the spring. We don't never talk about them. Future doctors, future lawyers, future teachers, future nurses, people who came out of Dale's homes like the vice mayor, who came from Lincoln Park, who came from various different scenarios that people try to say, well, you won't make it. They've come from single parent homes. They've come from low income. They come from middle class. They come from their parent being in the military. All these things they've overcome, and we never talk to them. We never expose them because it's all about this one gang or this 2 gang or this one gunshot or that other gunshot or this one robbery, which we need to address. But maybe if we started uplifting their friends who are doing positive, uplifting, because it's all about peer to peer.
Yeah.
You don't care what we say. We can build all the parks and rec centers. We can have all the basketball tournaments. We can do whatever they want, all of that stuff. They still gonna care about what their friends think. So we start opening up avenues where we celebrate our youth in the city of Portsmouth on a consistent basis, even through the media, those portrayals and images of African-American men are why we have the problem. I know we want to say, well, white police officers are bad. No, you got to understand they have implicit bias. Why do they have implicit bias? Because of what they are exposed to. A lot of times they don't have a relationship with black men. So the only thing they know is what they see in the media. So we assume black men are not in their homes with their families. We assume black men are aggressive and agitators. We assume that black men are have a propensity to crime. When you look at the statistics, and that is so far off. If you tell me 16% of black men are in jail, okay, that's a lot of black men in the country because we got millions of black men. That's a lot. But that's still 8 in 10 that are not. But we don't talk about the 8 in 10 that are doing what they're supposed to do. So that's kind of my focus is let's start celebrating the positive, like Mr. Overton was saying, of our young people and the people in the community. And let's start overflowing and flooding it. Everything that's talked about in Portsmouth is negative. Everything. Yeah. We got, and my motto that I always tell people whenever I talk about a kid or any situation, great things come from Portsmouth. That's my motto.
Yes. But you know what? That is the same thing you're talking about. That negativity is gone off nationwide because the politicians nationwide want to use those 1 or 2 incidents and they blow it up. Because you look at, even in the Senate, you had a senator from Missouri, Josh Hawley, one of the insurrectionists, tried to stick in the last bill that he voted against 100,000 more cops into the last bill that had funded by the federal government, and wants to start that whole policy of lock them up. And you want to say lock up them B people of color, off the news. And so, yes, we have to wise up and accentuate the positives. And like you say, talk about those other kids that are going off and graduating from high school and going off into college and going off to do things and making our cities better. And so, yes, but that problem of highlighting the negativity goes all the way up and down the chain as far as media goes. So
yeah, let me step in and say, well, we about 6 minutes before 7 o'clock before we be going off the air, but we will continue on Facebook Live with our conversation. And so we won't be interrupted. I just wanted to say thank you for the listeners on WGPL 1350 AM on your dial for listening this morning. And please join us next week, and God bless you. So we continue, and Coach, yeah, you hit it right on the head, everything you said. Another reason I wanted to have you on, because I know not only as a teacher, but you have certain opinions or share information about our politics in the city of Portsmouth. But I want to go back to something you said about making sure that the students, athletes, or students in general are recognized for what they're doing. And even like we talked last week with Mike about talking about his book, and his father wasn't there. We talked about how important it was in the sports arena to have that support when you're on the field or on the court from your parents or family, how important that was. And the parents need to know. I know some parents can't, but they need to know how important it is to show that support, not only in the stadiums, but at those orchestra recitals, at the band, band parents, at the debate, if they have a debate team, at those things, and the STEM programs, the robotics. And that's where the parents can come into play as far as, doing their, completing their responsibility. We have to, like you said, the more you give attention to those people doing good, it becomes contagious to a point where the other students say, well, I like to have that attention too. If you notice, during the spring, we try to, every show, we honored at least 2 students that were about to graduate. We know we don't have a lot of students watching, but those students that were honored knew that they were being honored, and we hope that they took that in as a sense of pride and shared that with their other students. But didn't mean to go on and on about that, but I definitely.
No, I agree with you, and also too, some of the things that I would suggest, and I have suggested, and like I said, I'm a community leader, so I have relationship with those in the political arena, from the mayor, vice mayor, council, school board members, you know, those who set policy in our community. You know, I'm a person who has communication, and one of the things that I think is I think a lot of times is missed with our issue that we have, especially with crime going on with our young people, because it's serious out here. You know, my son just got a car this summer, 17 years old. And I pray every morning, you know, as we all should for our children, but I pray every morning for his protection, and that God cover him with the blood as he's out there, you know, and that he made the right decisions and go to the right places, you know. But it's like it's about the involvement, you know, and making sure that we are involved with our young people and involved in their lives, and you know, making sure that, you know, we know they're doing the right thing type thing, but also too focusing on 6 through 13. And what I mean by that is I'm an elementary school teacher. It opened my eyes to a lot. I don't want to be negative, but I want to keep it real. All right. 14 to 17, they pretty much, now we can save lives at that age. We can make impact. We can mentor. We can do some things. But as a whole, 14 to 17, they pretty much have made up their mind. If you're 14 years old and you have a semi-automatic weapon and you're driving down the street and you're bold enough to start shooting at another human being,
You made that choice. You made that.
basketball court ain't gonna do it. Parks and Rec ain't gonna do it. Colonel, I hate to say this, they need to be locked up.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna kill my sons.
Yeah.
They're gonna kill your grandsons. But 6 to 13, those young people in the first grade, second grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, if we can grab them, because they are being recruited now at 10, 11, and 12 years old, because they can be runners for these gangs, because they know if they get caught doing something, it's gonna be a slap on the wrist, or it's gonna be you know, don't do that, or, you know, they're gonna be put in a program, but they won't be getting any time, you know, the way our juvenile justice system is. So a lot of times they're recruiting these young people to do things for them in these gangs. So if we can put programs installed for our younger kids, if we can have more men, we're working on a program now with our new principal, Miss Kimberly Young at Brighton Elementary, similar to the Watchdog program, where we have our fathers in our school coming into our building and volunteering, reading to our kids on a daily basis, walking the hallways with a presence, of showing love to the kids and high-fiving. Well, you know, we COVID, so we can't do a lot of high-fiving, but fist pumping, you know, and being in the building and, you know, making an impact with those 7, 8, and 9, and 10-year-olds, so that they will make the right decision. So when they do get to 14 through 17, we can still impact them and put them in a position where they're not out here shooting their classmates and their teammates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was important too, that when one of the people, young man was killed, and he was friends of a lot of the best football players, he immediately addressed it by having Bishop Kim Brown come in there and talk to him. You know, because you want to cut out that, you know, any kind of you know, anybody that want to retaliate, that might have had that in their mind to do something, to get back at somebody. You want to address that right away. And just like you said, you still can save some of those ones at that age. And you're right, some of them at a certain age have already made choices that they need to pay for those choices they made. But I think that's so important. Colonel, you were about to say something. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Coach. Yes, we need to catch the kids at that formative age, is what you talked about. And then that same kid that's got that Uzi that's shooting out the window, that is a kid that needs to be locked up. I totally agree with you, because when you pull, if you, having spent all the years in the military, if you pull a gun, you're out here to kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And if when I pull mine out, somebody's got to die today. And so that 14-year-old kid, and he shoots my son, I'm gonna be like the gladiator that you saw. I can't think. Russell Crowe. I'm gonna exact my I hate to say it,
Self-defense.
yeah, I'm in this earth or the next, and the law can't save you. So yes, that 14-year-old kid that pulls out the Uzi and shoots at in the basketball court, yeah, he does need to lock up, and we also need to lock up the person that gave him the gun and the gang members and stuff like that. But and I guess this goes back to 100,000 cops. I don't think we need 100,000 new cops. We need more community leaders like yourself talking to these young kids to steer them in their formative years, so we don't have to have those kids at 14-year-old crossing the Rubicon and losing them forever.
Hey, look, and it's two-pronged even with the police issue. That's why I love community policing so much.
Yeah.
Even I love having SROs that are trained and that care about the kids, not just, you know, just doing it just to do it. Like we used to have Officer White. He's retired now. And a young black male police officer who really cared about the kids. His son is at UVA playing football. And you know, and so having that presence at a younger age at the elementary school level, where they can start, where our kids can start having positive images of the police and thinking that, you know, the police are here to help, and that the police will actually start having involvement with our kids, so they will start to humanize them. I keep telling you, that's the main issue. If they were humanized, because the reason why a lot of times they treat certain people differently is because when they see that young woman or they see that young man, they see their nephew, they see their cousin, they see that person, and so they give them a little bit more benefit of the doubt. So we humanize them by community policing and having them see these kids at 12 and 11 and 10 years old before they're about to make these decisions and mistakes. And when you develop that relationship, I think it really helps, instead of us just becoming a militaristic city where, you know, it's about, let's get as many cops, let's lock as many people up as possible, you know, that type of thing. So I think it's a two-pronged situation we got going on.
Yeah, and it's education for the other side, because, you know, even, and I'm first one to tell you, even me as a black colonel in the United States Army, when I was down at Fort Stewart and with 3rd ID, 3rd Infantry Division, 5,000 troop plus on that base. You know, I was the only black 06 down there when I got stationed there, the only one. And I remember going to the ball, and this is a small story, and going to see the 2-star, and he had a little open house, and I could see it in his staff, and they looked at me and they got the eyes of saying, how in the world did you get down here? You know, and then so, but for my time there, I changed a lot of hearts and minds for, you know, for my actions and things. And I was out in the community, and that's only one part of the things that I had to go through, and also we also have to go through, especially after the 4 years of Trump, where racism was allowed to fester and actually come out from behind the closet, and it was regularized. But you know, I have a son too, and my 2 girls, and also have to have the talk, and I have to remind myself, you know, just because you're out here, you have to remind yourself, hey, no matter what you have and who you are, you're still Black in America. And
Coach, I like to bring this up. I like to congratulate you on being named Teacher of the Year 2020 at Brighton Elementary. And I think after people hearing you talk today, they can see why. We really appreciate you and what you're doing and what you continue to do. And again, congratulations on that. Can you tell us what, I think some people are worried about going into this year's football season, and the first game is on the 27th of this month, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right?
Yes.
We'll be at Denalcom, the Joe Langston Field. And what is being done as far as safety? Because some people are worried and don't know what to expect. You know, we see the violence in the daytime, we see it at night, we see boldness. So what can we expect? I know part of it's going to be a police action or plan that they might have, but what are the schools doing in order to
Um,
try to ensure some kind of safety?
well, I mean, we got it's gonna be two parts to that. The first part is definitely with COVID is making sure everyone is safe. I don't believe they have sent down any new uh plans as far as what we're gonna do. We'll probably be getting that information from our athletic directors soon. But as it is right now, I believe they are planning to have full stadiums. Don't know, if that means with mask or without mask. Like I say, those things will come down from Portsmouth Public Schools, and they will determine that. But we'll be prepared either way when it comes to the COVID protocols, and whatever they enlist us to do, we'll do to make sure that everyone is as safe as possible in that regard. And as far as crime or issues of that nature, it'd be similar to how it was before, like you say, having a very large police presence, but also having many volunteers. We're definitely gonna have many volunteers that are there to show love, to be positive, to encourage the young people, that's coming, and making sure, there isn't a lot of issues, and seeing those issues before they arise, because that's something that is a concern, not just for the football games, but for school. We've literally been out of school for over a year and a half, and like my son is a sophomore, and he's never been inside of a classroom at Norcom, and he's a 10th grader, so I mean, he's been practicing and playing football there. But you have these kids here who some have some gang affiliation. You may have some people from the neighborhood who are not even affiliated with Norcom that may want to come to the game and start some stuff. So just like you said, having a lot of volunteers, being on alert, keeping the atmosphere and the culture as positive as possible. We have a very amazing alumni that I know can't wait to support us on August 27th in that first home game. If nothing changes and things get better COVID wise, and the governor allows for full capacity, we want every single Greyhound to be there. I believe our first 3 games are home games. We want them every week. Show these kids in the community. And I'm not just talking about Norcom. This is Portsmouth, Churchland, Wilson. Well, Wilson is no longer. It's Manor now. Show these kids you love them. We on social media. We bash them. We talk about these young people all day long. Well, guess what, Portsmouth? I know it's 6,000 of y'all on Friday nights that can come out. 2,000 at Norcom, 2,000 at Manor, and 2,000 at Churchland. Even if you don't got a stake in the game, just come out and see these young people go do some amazing things, and not be out on the street, Yeah. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that Friday night lights in Portsmouth, Friday night football, can be a way to bring our community together, far as law enforcement, far as adults and our young people. That's what I'm hoping for. So hopefully they'll definitely have plans in place for safety, for COVID, and to ensure safety, as far as any gun violence or any violence between young people.
Yeah, we have to show those games that they're not in control. If we shy away and the stadiums are empty because of fear, we're giving control to them, and that's what they're looking for. A lot of them are in those games for attention because they might be lacking it from somewhere else. And if we shy away from going to games because we figure something might happen, I think you're right. The more people that are there, that's telling them, look, y'all not stopping nothing here in the city of Portsmouth. We can come out and support our kids, our students, and I think that'll be a big help or big deterrent. And it might not stop something from going on, but I think it'll be a big deterrent at what might happen. And like you said, with the volunteerism of people being out doing the game in the parking lots, making sure there's nothing brewing out there, before and after the games.
It's the start of taking our city back.
Taking our city back. We can't let people younger than us
be
in control.
Yes. Start a new ledger or turning the chapter, and to uplift the reputation of our city.
Definitely.
Slim, Coach, Coach, I'm under the weather this morning, so you have not heard much from me, but I've really
Yes, ma'am.
been listening, and I really enjoy what it is I'm hearing. And I'm sure that the Alumni Association would definitely be out there to support you and the athletes in your endeavors this season.
Yes, ma'am.
And you brought me back to the thoughts of old Joe Langston. You sound a lot like Joe Langston when Joe Langston was there at Norcom coaching. And I
Playful.
tell you, I am so thrilled that you're there. I'm so thrilled with the energy that you're bringing to the team, the energy that you, and that energy will flow from the team to the school.
Mhm.
So I mean, I'm just thankful for you, and I look forward to working with you. I'm not going to say much more because I start coughing, but anyway, and
Yes,
also
ma'am.
I'll see you at Brighton as well.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yep, I seen you
Okay.
there before. I definitely
Yes.
will see you.
And I'll bring this up again, Coach. You said showing up at those games, but we also have to show up in those auditoriums for those plays, for
Exactly.
those concerts, for those
PTA
auditorium
meetings.
activities, or whatever is going on there, and make those kids out. You know, because it's so. You know, when you go to one of those plays or something like that, you see scattered audience. You know, there we should be packing that just like we would the gym or the football field. You know, so it's so important. We have to do our part in order to take this back. So, and you talked a little bit about politics and what you think should be going in there, and you're involved. I think you sort of hit on that, but I saw a quote that you put in there on your page, and this was like Portsmouth is turning into the wire, or maybe the corner. I mean, with politics, gangs, shootings, it's turning into a movie. And Nathan McCall couldn't even write this script, you know, and that's probably true for those people that not familiar with the wire or the corner. It was about the violence in the streets, you know, of the young people. And if we're turning into something like that, we really need to act to turn that back, you know.
Definitely. And I think it's and a couple of years ago, me and my wife was trying to work on this unity initiative. And I think it's a unity type thing. And that's really my prayer for our city and our community. It is so divided, you know, it is so divided. And from the political spectrum to business, to education, to everything, if we all would unify and come together, because we all should have the same goal, that we want our children to be safe and we want our children to be successful. If we all would come together for that regard, yeah, everybody has their own way that they think that it can be great. But if we could do that, I think we could really have a positive impact and change the culture of our city, you know. And that's my thing. And that's why I refuse right now to sit at any tables right now. You know, as a grassroots community leader who has children and who, you know, in the city and who has worked so diligently, I won't get involved. I'll stay behind the scenes. I won't get involved until people are ready to unify. If we're gonna keep fussing, arguing, fighting, calling names, you know, because we disagree about how something should be done, you know, what's the point really? You know, I'd rather just work with these kids, you know, because they just want love, you know. So
Yeah.
that's my hope and prayer when it comes to politics. I could care less about Republican, Democrat. I could care less about black and white. I could care less about inner city or upper class. You know, we're gonna always have differences until we are ready to come together for the common goal. This goes to our activists, to the worst of the worst. Until we're ready to come together, we're not gonna be successful. And that's the charge that I have to my friends who are the ones out here who are really carrying on that torch that we had several years ago, you know, in the community, doing so many programs and so many things, is fighting with each other. What does that solve? From the top on down, you
Yeah.
know.
And you know, if it's embarrassing to
I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real because I ain't no politician, so I could just say what come out of my mouth. You know, I had a conversation with the vice mayor. You know, and I know many of others. I need the mayor and the vice mayor on the same team, baby. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all want the same thing. You know, so let's get on the same team. You know, and that's with everybody, okay? I'm talking about from the top down, even school board, everything. Let's get on the same page for these kids and change our neighborhood. And that's just how I feel about it. And they know I'm a straight shooter, so that's how I roll.
And coach, and the bottom line is, if everybody professes to be out there doing what they're doing for the students and the children, those same students and children are watching them. Are watching them, and how is especially with the teenagers you work with. These are teenagers now that are exposed to a lot more than we were when we were coming up. So they are aware of what they're watching, and they're watching a bunch of grown folks that profess to want to do the right thing and can't even get along in public. So, I mean, this goes out to our leadership that's in public, and it goes down to our citizens too, because our citizens are doing some of the same things, and our kids are watching. So someone would say, well, why would I do anything better if the adults look like they look? So you're right.
So that's if I can have any type of theme when it comes to the politics side of this interview, is unification. We got to unify. Once we do that, y'all gonna see a change. Y'all gonna see a difference.
Yeah, going to the table, and it's nothing but talk. What's the use of going to the table if the next meeting everybody's fussing? That goes out to all the politicians that might be watching, and all the citizens, and we all in this together. And we all responsible for our actions, especially when we have our students and our children watching us.
And they are watching us. They are watching us. And then it goes back to what you say earlier. They watch us as we go in. If we go out there to support them at the football games and at this and that, and at the opera, at the PTA, they actually learn from that stuff. And I bet you, coach, your two sons, they watch you go to the PTA meetings and watch you go to different meetings and watch you as you went throughout your career. And so they're learning through you, and that's the lessons that they're learning now. And that's can be multiplied over just about every kid in the city now. So keep teaching those what I call nonverbal passive lessons.
Oh yeah. And that's why I tell parents all the time, on the parent side of things, involvement. Be involved with your kids, talk to your kids, communicate with your kids. So this stuff doesn't, they teenagers, they can hide certain things, but this stuff doesn't sneak up on you. And then you just kind of, in shock when something happens. Try to be as involved, as possible. And then for us as community leaders, we have to understand that there is a segment of our society who, because of various different reasons, whether it be economic hardship, whether it be environment, whether it be abuse, whether it be mental, whatever, some of our young people don't have stability in the home when it comes to parents. So when that comes to the educators, and when that comes to the coaches, and when that comes to our older leaders, that's when we have to start making that impact on those kids, and we have to be that role model for those kids, so that now none of our kids are lacking. So that's what I say when I say unification. Everybody playing a role. We can't just say, well, that's the parents. I see that a lot of times on social media. That's the parents' responsibility. Okay, but I got a 12-year-old kid whose father is in jail and mother is on drugs and living with a grandmother who can barely make ends meet on Social Security, and the 12-year-old has to turn on 4 laptops for their little brothers and sisters to make sure that they can log on to Zoom, fix them breakfast, fix them lunch, and then they go outside, they have no money, and then they got a 16-year-old saying, hey man, if you come hang with me, you can get $100. All you gotta do is go in that store and take this and take that. But we saying throw it on every kid doesn't have the stability that my sons have, and I understand that. But one thing that I told my boys was, I said, how we could pay this forward? Me being involved in y'all lives, y'all become leaders. So now, for those young men who you hang with who don't have a father, now you are instilling in them, hey bro, pops don't let me do that weed, man. If I come in the crib smelling like weed, I'm getting two to the chest. You know what I'm saying? And they like, man, what man? I just sneak in the back of the house, man. My mama worked double shifts, you know, it's just her in the house. So I smoke. Nah, bro. Pops ain't gonna let that happen. You know, I tell my sons that if y'all can be the influencers, that's what we need. We need our football players and basketball players and 3.5 kids and our band kids and our kids, because they all, it's not like we was growing up where you had the kids were the nerds, the smart kids were the nerds, and the band kids was one, and the football was one, and the thugs was another. They all together.
Yeah.
They're all together. You can have a thug, gang member, basketball player, 4.0 student, and praise dancer, all sitting at the table at McDonald's together, and they all together. Well, I need that. I need those two teenagers in that group to be the leaders and be the influencers. So that's what I say, man. Let's unify from an inside out when it comes to parents, and from an outside in when it comes to community leaders.
Yes.
Well, Ronnie, we're coming to an end, and I know you have an appointment, but we really appreciate it. I was going to give you the last word, but you just had it right there, and we really appreciate it. And we hope to have you back on, you know, because I like the message that you give, and you're working directly with the students. And go ahead.
I want to say one more thing, though. I do want to say this, Mr. Overton, and I definitely want this to be out. And I know you all show this on YouTube. So once this is on YouTube, I'm gonna have all of our players are gonna watch this interview today. But what I am really happy about is there's a misnomer that the older generation just complain, fuss, and don't care. You're showing that that's not true. You know, you care. You know, you're trying to give a voice to people. You know, you're trying to have these talks and get these things out. So you two gentlemen and Miss Leah being here and wanting to open these avenues for voices to be heard, that's amazing as well. And I want our young people to see that as well, because you know, they need to know that everybody not against them. You know, and I tell them that all the time. Everybody ain't against you. You know, it's people out here that really want to see you make it, really want to see you succeed. And so that right there is going to be key. And Miss Leah, I'm gonna tell you another thing too. There's no more normalcy. Things have changed. One thing that I think the IC Norcom alumni can be is a strong force. Because I'm gonna tell you something. 300 game, 600 game, cheddar game. I know them all. There used to be all of that stuff. Can't none of them compare to the IC Norcom game. That's what I've been concerned about. Where my Greyhounds at? Because we're supposed to take over the city. To be honest with you, we got the doctors, we got the lawyers, we got the politicians, we got the police officers. You know, I'm not dissing Manor or Churchland because we need their support too. But IC Norcom alumni is the biggest game. Let's start getting out into the community. Let's do a big IC Norcom alumni cleanup of the city of Portsmouth. Let's do an IC Norcom alumni gang awareness. And you know, I'm just throwing stuff out there, but I'm just saying that's the biggest gang in Portsmouth. Yeah. So we get IC Norcom alumni together. Now our young people can be like, whoa, these people strong.
Strong.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Coach. And I'm going to pass this on to our alumni president and make sure that she put some action to the words
she
just given.
Give me a call or send me an email, and we can make it happen.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, you're right. The biggest gang in the city of Portsmouth. Just imagine. And we had the alumni on here one time, the president, Lynn Browley, and she talked about that. It's a struggle trying to get alumni members to come and be a part of the alumni. Just think if all the people that ever went to Norcom came together or at least supported the alumni, strong of a force that would be, because all of us have been there, whether kids are now, the young students are now. And you know, once a Greyhound, you know how deep it is in your heart. But we'll let you go, Coach, and we really appreciate it. And good luck on your appointment today. And let's stay in touch, my brother.
All right, I will. Appreciate you, Mr. Overton. Appreciate you, Colonel, and appreciate you, Miss Leah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right, y'all be blessed.
I'm gonna download this right away so we can get this to YouTube in a hurry.
Yes, ma'am.
Great conversation. Great conversation.
Yes.
Appreciate y'all.
The talk is here for our voice,
our community,
and our future.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. Thank you for listening, and join us next Monday as we will have another special guest. Leah, you still there?
I'm here.
Can you say who the next guest will be next week?
Guest next week is a Norcom grad, Michael Fletcher, who's in the design and technology field. He's living in California now, and he's doing some great things, and he has some great information he wants to bring back to the city of Portsmouth. So that's Michael Fletcher, Norcom graduate, recently seen, having designed the young man's fashion for the NBA draft, as well as has worked with Puffy and a few other folks out there in the entertainment world. So we're excited to have Michael Fletcher on next week.
Yeah, thank you, Leah. And that's what we want to do too. It's bring attention to Portsmouth residents and what they're doing out there. You know, it's important that we follow up on people that come through our school system, and I see Norcom as well as Churchland and Manor. So
right.
And the former Woodrow Wilson. Okay, thanks everybody, and take care, and we'll see you, and God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless everybody. See y'all later.
Take care of yourself, Leah.
Okay.
Yes.
Get well.
Thank you.
Yeah, get well.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
And
bye-bye.
Thanks for the Facebook Live people for watching.
I got to see how to stop it now.